Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to say just a few words about the eternal bard, as English people call him. So William Shakespeare, and what we know about is his life and his times. Well, as you already know, he was writing in the Elizabethan era, and he was very popular. And actually, we know very little about him. So we know where he was baptized. We know where he lived. We know whom he married, and we know his names, the names of his children, and more or less the time of his death, and that's it. So the information is very scarce, and it makes him even more interesting because we look at him and we can get to know him only through his plays. And this time, so we are talking about the 16th century, and this time is incredibly interesting. The art in the Elizabethan era was very important, and the theater was a very popular form of entertainment. And my introduction is going to be pretty short. I would just like to mention a few things, as you are going to watch a great material about the movie Shakespeare in Love, which is our pretext for this lecture. And actually, there is just one material, but I think it's enough, and you can turn on the subtitles so you can follow what the actors and directors and specialists are saying, not only about the movie, which is really great, and I really encourage you to watch it, but also about the Elizabethan theatre, the well, the time, the characteristics, and so on and so forth. So it's really interesting. And what I wanted to mention is that it was a time when playwrights were fighting for the audience, and there were no copyrights. So copyrights, prawa autorskie. So a lot of plays might have been stolen from other artists, and there might have been a few versions of the same story, but the playwright who could turn the plot into the most fascinating fascinating play was the most successful one. So it wasn't just about the idea, the concept, but also about the execution. So the way the author, the playwright, could put it into verse. And the movie Shakespeare in Love is, it's just fiction in the sense that we know so little about Shakespeare himself that the authors of this film could just imagine what it could have been like when Shakespeare was still young. He wasn't yet this recognized, famous playwright. And what is important for the plot is, there are many important aspects, but what seems very important is the fact that in Elizabethan theatre, no women were allowed to play in theatre. So there were only actors and no actresses. And I'm not going to spoil the movie for you, but let me just tell you that a huge part of this story, of this movie, revolves around the problem of a girl playing, well, being an actor in Elizabethan theater. And when you think about it, because Shakespeare really loved to play with the concept that someone is dressed, well, is disguised as someone else, and that sometimes so-called mistaken identity, so that we do not know that this person is this person. So a lot of disguises, a lot of dressing up. And when you think, when there is a heroine, so a character, female character, who pretends to be a man, in fact, as all the actors had to be male, and women were played by young boys, so actually it was a young boy who played a girl who pretended to be a man. So everybody was pretending to be someone else, and I think it's pretty cool and pretty funny. So Shakespeare was a genius, and the topics he was dealing with are so up to date, they are so universal that people still can find something new, something fascinating about them. So, as a matter of fact, Romeo and Juliet is one of the worst plays by Shakespeare, but it became the most popular one. Don't know why, because there are so many other stories, so many other dramas by Shakespeare that are so much better. But I'm a big fan of Hamlet. I'm a big fan of Macbeth, and yes, so, and there are a few others that are much better. Midsummer Night's Dream. So what is great about Shakespeare is that he could find this so-called comic relief, and comic relief is something that was unknown to in antiquity. So all this Greek ancient um, theaters, dramas wouldn't accept it, and as a matter of fact, we really need it even in tragedies. So when you take a look at Hamlet, which is a tragedy, there are many moments that are simply funny. And for example, at the cemetery, or the way Hamlet is making fun of, oh God, I have forgotten the name. It starts with P. Sorry, I've just realized that not Petronius, but just give me a second. I'll check it. Of course, the name is Polonius, not Petronius, but Polonius. Yeah. So the father of Ophelia, who's pretty cunning, but he isn't very smart. And Hamlet, who's incredibly intelligent, is making fun of him. So we have these moments of comic relief. Relief is ulga, czyli ulga komiczna. It sounds weird, but it's a real thing. So when the tension, the atmosphere is really heavy and dark, and hard to cope with, there are those tiny moments when we can laugh. And I also think that it's very realistic, in the sense that even in the darkest times in our lives, there are funny moments. There are always things that could make us laugh. So, and there are always people who create those funny situations. So in the sense, I think that Shakespeare is really ingenious. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the material that you can find down below. So today is just one, but I think it's exhaustive and it's really nice to watch. And you can turn on the subtitles, so it will be much easier for you to watch it. And there are parts of the movie and there are commentaries by the actors and the director and people responsible for the costumes and so on and so forth. So I really believe it will be a pleasure for you to watch. So thank you so much. Enjoy the film and the material. Thank you.